In my experience, most movie-to-home translations stink. Think Last Action Hero, Cliffhanger, Jaws, and Back to the Future, for example. But there are some movie-based games, in my opinion, that are worth playing. So let's check out some of these movie-based video games that I enjoy, starting with Aladdin for the Sega Genesis. This is a fast-paced, beautifully animated platformer based on Disney's 1992 hit film. I understand that the game uses actual art created by Disney animators. That's pretty cool. The goal of the game is to reach the Cave of Wonders, defeat the evil sorcerer Jafar, and win the heart of Princess Jasmine. You know, just like the movie. You can attack enemies with your sword, or you can collect and throw apples. Frankly, I think that's more fun than hitting them with a sword. Controls are great, and thankfully not at all hampered by the animation. I love the highly detailed backgrounds, especially here on the first market stage, but the cave stage is pretty fantastic too. If you haven't played Aladdin for the Genesis, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's great. Alien for Atari 2600. Based on one of my all-time favorite horror movies, you play as, I guess it's Ripley, the manual doesn't say one way or the other, who must eat the dots, crush the eggs, tiny eggs that is. If you get a power pellet, pulsar, you can touch an alien to destroy it. You also have a flamethrower that can chase an alien away. Complete a stage and you get to play a bonus round where you avoid aliens to reach the top of the screen. Yeah, that's exactly like the movie, isn't it? Honestly, this is a pretty decent Pac-Man clone and definitely better than Atari's official game, but it really doesn't follow the Alien movie that closely. Aliens by Konami for the arcade. I love this one to death. Well, that's probably a poor choice of words. Anyway, you definitely play as Ripley, except that she has blonde hair, blasting colorful aliens with rocket launchers, three-way blasters, and my favorite, the flamethrower. There's bosses at the end of each stage that really aren't from the movie. Fortunately, you do get the typical face-hugger, chest-bursters, and adult drones to battle, even if they're a little more colorful than the originals. I like this stage here where you ride on top of the APC and blast aliens. And then later in the game where you ride the elevator down to rescue Newt. It takes some liberties with the source material, but this one is a fun ride. Batman Returns for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Based on the second Tim Burton movie, this is exactly what a Batman game should be, beating up the bad guys. Graphics are fantastic and varied for an NES game. The music is great and the sounds are about what you'd expect with punching sounds and stuff getting smashed. This is one of the best Batman games ever. Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. Here's another great beat-em-up for the Super Nintendo. Is this the best Batman game ever made? Well, maybe. I'd say it's at least the best 16-bit Batman game ever made. I can't think of a Sega Genesis Batman game that's this good. The hits are super satisfying, and sometimes there's stuff to interact with, like windows, trash cans, and walls. What I like about this game is that there's many different stages and enemies because, yeah, I get bored easily. So this one does keep me pretty engaged. There's even a stage where you drive the Batmobile, which is the best Batmobile ever. My only disappointment is that you don't get to drive the Bat ski boat. Oh well. But it doesn't matter. Beating up the Penguin's minions never gets old. Discs of Tron for the arcade. The story goes that this game was to be included with the original arcade release, but it wasn't ready when the other minigames were, so it was later released as a standalone game. Not sure I buy that though. I'm guessing it was an undeveloped concept and then later programmed into a game after the original game exploded in popularity. Either way though, I'm glad it exists because this is not just a game, it's an experience. Especially if you play the environmental cabinet, it is amazing. Basically, you play as Tron trying to knock Sark off floating discs by throwing your frisbee, your identity disc at him.
You'll regret this!
You aim your disc with the spinner, but you have to be strategic. Throwing directly at him usually doesn't work.
Have you not?
The joystick is the same as the original arcade, but with an extra block button. The game ramps up in difficulty in the later stages with more discs to jump on, enemies to chase you, and the ability to aim your throws by pushing or pulling on the spinner. This is not a normal concept for a video game, but it is definitely pure Tron. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial for the Atari 2600. I know what you're thinking. E.T. is the worst game ever. But it's not. It really is not the worst game ever. It's a lot of fun, actually, if you spend just like 2 minutes figuring out how to play it. You play as this little cute alien, and he's landed here on Earth, and he finds a friend named Elliot, and he needs the pieces of his communicator to call his buddies to come pick him up, because he was stranded. But anyway, you travel the screen looking for those communicator pieces, and once you find all three, you just need to find the spot in the forest where you can call your friends. Of course, you do have to worry about the scientist and the FBI agent who's chasing you down all the time, but you can turn those off, which makes it a little bit easier. And yes, you do have to fall into the pits in order to find your communicator pieces, but if you're careful, you can land without injuring yourself. It's not really that hard. Again, this game, if you just take a few minutes, it's a lot of fun. And there's nothing like it out there on any other video game system. Of course, you may not think that's a good thing, but, you know, I personally do. Flash Gordon for the Atari 2600. I'm not totally sure this is based on the movie, but Sam Jones and Max von Sydow are on the cover, so I'm just going to go with it. Basically, you fly a ship called the Not War Rocket Ajax through the tunnels to Spider City. What I do is find my ship on the lower map screen and then head to the yellow dots, which I think are the hatching pods. Enemies will then pop out and you have to destroy them. You also need to rescue spacemen you find along the way. Once you destroy all the enemies and find an open space, you get to go to the next stage. This is a great Defender-style game that is just a blast to play. I only wish Timothy Dalton was in it. Friday the 13th, the game for the PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One. In this online multiplayer game, you play as Jason Voorhees, who must eliminate up to 7 camp counselors while preventing them from escaping.
That's my Jason.
You can choose from different Jasons, but my favorite is the retro from the original NES game. See, he's purple, just like the Nintendo game. There are also different weapons and ways to eliminate your opponents. What's cool is that Kane Hodder himself did the motion capture, so you're getting the authentic Jason mannerisms. In addition to playing as Jason, you can also play as a counselor whose goal is to escape by car, boat, or by calling the police.
Please send help! Camp Crystal Lake! It's Jason! He's back!
And if you know what to do, you can even kill Jason. This is my guilty pleasure and one of the very few modern games that I like.
They deserve to die, Jason. Make them suffer.
Gremlins for the Atari 2600. In this game, your goal is to catch all the mogwai before they eat the hamburgers. I guess it's after midnight here, and if they eat one of those hamburgers, they're going to turn into gremlins. But even if you save all the mogwai, you still have to fight gremlins in the next stage, so I'm not sure really what the point is. I guess that's the point, is just to get points. This game kind of reminds me of Kaboom in a sense, except you do have to control it with a joystick, which is not as precise as using the paddle controller. My more favorite stage is when you get to shoot the gremlins later. Of course, I don't remember Billy Peltzer actually having a gun in the movie. While I do really enjoy the 5200 version of Gremlins better, this is still a really fun game, and again, it's always going to be fun. Gremlins for the Atari 5200. One of the few exclusives for the Atari 5200, and yes, I know there was an Apple II version. You play as Billy Peltzer, who must rescue the Mogwai and destroy gremlins with your sword. If either of them touch water, they multiply, and if the Mogwai touch food, they turn into gremlins. Turning on the TV will distract the creatures, which keeps them from getting into trouble. Touching a Mogwai will allow you to carry one to the cage, but the others might actually follow you. Oh, and the gremlins like to open the cage to let the Mogwai out. The animation is quite nice, and the colors are very brown. Controls are surely a problem with the original 5200 controller, which is why I prefer to emulate the game and play it with an Xbox 360 controller. Definitely give this one a try, it's a lot of fun. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for the arcade. So this is about as close to being Indiana Jones as I want to get. Another great arcade game from Atari Games. I love playing as Indy, whipping the thuggies, bats, and even Mola Ram. Oh, but the real goal is to rescue the children and escape in the minecart. Then you have to race down the tracks to avoid other minecarts and the big dude who always knocks me over. If you reach the end, you can grab one of the Sankara stones and go to the next stage. Get all the stones and escape to take on Mola Ram on the bridge. It's tough getting that far, but it is definitely worth it. I love seeing that final scene on the bridge. Yes! Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for the Nintendo Entertainment System. As Indy, your goal is to rescue the children and get to the minecart. Only the minecart stage has children you must rescue too. Sometimes you'll find weapons like guns, swords, or bombs that can be used a limited number of times. Later in the game, you'll need these to cross a lava river by hitting a dragon head that pops out. That part is kind of weird. You also have to find map pieces to figure out what door to take at the end. I've come pretty close to beating the game, but I've never quite gotten there. Still, it's enough like the arcade game for me to enjoy it from time to time. Krull for the Atari 2600. You play as Colwyn, who is defending your fiancée, Lissa, from these slayers. Unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to defeat the onslaught because they just keep coming forever, and they will kidnap her and take her to the Black Castle. Of course, you can't just travel straight to the Black Castle. No, that would be too easy. You have to go to the Widow of the Web in order to have her tell you where the Black Castle is going to appear so that you can travel to that location and defeat the beast. Traveling between sections is really cool because you get to ride these horses and you get to pick up glaives and extra men along the way. But for me, the most fun is when you get to the beast stage and you have the glaive and you're throwing it at the prison that's holding Lissa. It can be extremely challenging to maneuver around the beast, and it's most helpful if you have more than one glaive, that's for sure. I remember picking this one up back in the day, and I don't know, I was just blown away by how awesome this game is. It really does capture the spirit of the movie. I mean, as much as a 16 kilobyte Atari 2600 game can. Raiders of the Lost Ark for the Atari 2600. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love that you have so many different screens to visit. It really feels like you're on a huge adventure with Indiana Jones. Basically, your goal here is to find the Lost Ark. It's a really complicated game, and it took me probably like 15 years to actually beat it. But once you figure out what to do, it's a lot of fun. The only downside I can see with this game is that you have to have 2 joysticks to play it, so it makes it a little bit tricky. But for me, this is a game, it'll just never get old, because I love it. And plus, I mean, you can never go wrong with Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg. Notice I didn't say George Lucas. I'm kidding, I love you, George. Rambo 3 for the Sega Genesis. Here we have a run and gun featuring the character who all but invented the genre. I mean, who hasn't played Contra or Commando and said, "I'm just gonna Rambo in"? Play as Rambo, who embarks on a guilt-ridden rescue mission to save Colonel Troutman. You have 4 weapons at your disposal: the machine gun, the knife, the bow with explosive tips, and the bombs. The bombs are good for knocking down the gunnery towers. Then you have to move into this maze looking for a spy. No matter what you do, the first 2 prisoners are not the spy, unfortunately. When you find the 3rd one, you have to make a mad dash to the exit, so it's best to know where it is. Then it's back to more running and gunning. My favorite part is blasting this attack chopper, but it's pretty easy on, well, easy mode anyway. So the movie wasn't all that great, but the game, yeah, it's pretty cool. Robocop for arcade.
Robocop.
Play as the nearly indestructible Robocop, blasting all manner of thugs, robots, and drones to stop, your own company from taking over the city? Well, that does follow the movie, doesn't it? The game is presented as a side-scroller, but as Robocop you're limited to walking fairly slowly. Fortunately, you can jump to avoid enemy bullets. Well, wait, no, you can't avoid them no matter what you do. They're everywhere, and even jumping, you're still going to get hit. Especially in the later stages. I don't think I lasted more than a few seconds before having to add another credit. I really love the detailed graphics, the sound effects, and the music, which are all very authentic to the movie.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator for the arcade and the Atari 2600.
Entering sector 1.4.
This isn't based on a particular movie, but the cabinet and artwork suggested it's based on the motion picture, only there's no V'ger. Come on, man.
Entering sector 2.3.
Anyway, you play as Captain of the Enterprise, protecting star bases from being destroyed by enemy Klingons. The original game from Sega used a color vector screen and had some great voice and music. It also included a dial for turning the ship left and right. The Atari 2600 game is a bit more limited in graphics and sounds, but it still plays great. Press left and right on the joystick to turn, up to thrust, fire to shoot phasers, or down to launch a torpedo. A highly underrated game on the 2600, and it's the best home port of the arcade game in my mind. Star Wars for the arcade and the Atari 2600. Atari's classic arcade game has you piloting an X-Wing fighter, battling against TIE fighters, towers, fuzzy balls, and Darth Vader himself.
I'm hit, but not bad. R2, see what you can do with it.
It uses a color vector screen, which gives the game a cool, if rudimentary, 3D look. The controls use a special yoke for aiming your reticule, since a mouse would not be practical in the arcade.
What a strong difference.
The Atari 2600 game does a decent job of replicating the original. The TIE fighter scene isn't nearly as exciting though. But it does have the towers and a 3D trench sequence that's dang impressive. I played this a ton back in the day, and it's one of the most beloved movie games ever. Well, the arcade game is anyway. Star Wars for the Sega 32X. Based on the Sega arcade game, this action flight game is kind of a mix between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I sure don't remember Admiral Akbar being in the first movie.
Attention all wing pilots. Stand by to receive orders.
This one is cool because you can play from inside the cockpit or outside your ship in a third-person view. You start off by having to blast 20 TIE bombers and fighters in an asteroid field. After that, you blast another 20 in the midst of several Star Destroyers. Then more ties in another asteroid field. Good grief, let's get to the Death Star already. That scene is pretty cool as you fly along the surface, avoiding towers and blasting more ties. Come on, man, I'm only one Jedi here. I've always enjoyed this one for the cool 3D graphics. I just wish I could blow up the Death Star. Maybe if there weren't so many tie blasting scenes to get through. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back for the Atari 2600.
The game is really simple. All you have to do is fly your snowspeeder and shoot at the walkers. If you hit that little flashing square on the walker, they'll disintegrate immediately. Or you can hit them, I think, 42 times and they'll finally blow up. Occasionally your snowspeeder will be endowed with force powers, which means you're invincible for a little while. And if you get hit a few times, you might want to land so that you can restore the power of your snowspeeder. I didn't know that for a really long time. This is a really simple game, but I mean, it works. I really feel like I was flying a snowspeeder back then. Even today, this game is a lot of fun to play. Even though you can't really win, I guess that's kind of like the movie. There was no way that the rebellion was going to escape the Empire in that scene. There hasn't really been too much in the way of a modernized version of this game. I mean, sure, you can fly as snowspeeders and battle AT-AT walkers in modern games, but I mean, obviously it doesn't feel like this game does.
Super Star Wars series for the Super Nintendo. This is one series of games that is incredibly hard, but I can't get over how beautiful they look and how fun it is to swing that lightsaber. The sounds are just amazing too. You also get to play as pretty much all of the characters from the original movies. Leia, Han, Chewbacca, but what about Yoda? That would be cool. The enemies come at you endlessly, so it's best to just skip past them if you can. Also, the jumping can be a real drag if you miss a platform. Dang it! Now, the 3D sequences are super cool, and I especially like flying the snowspeeder against the AT-AT walkers. A tough bunch of games for sure, but definitely worth giving a look-see, or as Yoda would say, play these games you shall. The Terminator for the Sega CD. Oh yeah, this is the Terminator game that everyone talks about. In this game, you play as Kyle Reese blasting Terminator robots in the apocalyptic future of 2029. Ah crap, only a few years to go. I better get my phased plasma rifle ready. Anyway, this disc actually has quite a bit of footage from the movie with music that sets the mood. And then the game starts and the music totally doesn't fit. It's a little too happy for a game like this. I like the shooting gameplay in this one, but aiming on the stairs can be challenging. Also, it's a little tricky to figure out where you need to go sometimes, but not too bad. It does get a little bit worse though as you play through it. I did get stuck in this spot here in the Skynet building before I was able to go back in time. Still, I really enjoyed this one, maybe because it's not super hard. Definitely one I want to play through all the way to the end. Toy Story for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Here's another one I enjoy mostly for the amazing visuals. You start off by playing as Woody in Andy's room collecting stars while trying to reach the bed. Later, you get to ride as Rex, drive RC around in a top-down view, hide in a Pizza Planet cup, explore a 3D maze, and ride on RC in a behind-the-view race. I just love that there's so much variety in this game. You never get bored, that's for sure. Both versions of this game are essentially the same, but the Super Nintendo has better color and a few remixed scenes. I've never beaten this game, but it's absolutely one of the best movie-to-video game conversions ever. Tron for the arcade. The original Tron game arrived in arcades in 1982 and it was an instant hit. It's said to have made more money than the actual movie. In it, you play as Tron by using a joystick with a trigger along with an analog spinner. It includes 4 games from the movie: Light Cycles, Grid Bugs, Tanks, and the MCP. The Light Cycle style game became a huge hit, spawning many home computer ports. I remember a friend from school programmed one for my Atari 8-bit computer and I played it to death. Unfortunately, it was only 2-player. There was also the Grid Bugs, where you must aim Tron's arm and shoot enough bugs to gain entry to the glowing column thingy. It's a requirement to spin the arm when going up, isn't it? The Tanks game has you blasting enemy tanks in a maze using the spinner to aim the turret. I always hide in the center spot here and then shoot them when they get close. Finally, there was the MCP, where you have to shoot all the bricks to enter the cone. If I don't hit all the bricks, I just feel like a total failure. First round is easy, second round can be done if you're fast and don't miss any, and the third, well, screw it, I just try to enter the cone. So in my mind, Tron is one of the top 10 arcade games of all time. Tron Deadly Discs for the Intellivision. Here is the first home version of Tron, and dang, it is not like the arcade game. Rather, it's a totally different concept. You play as Tron throwing discs to de-res your enemies. It kind of reminds me of Berserk, but without the maze. You can also teleport by entering a door on the side of the screen. Throwing the disc is, well, interesting. You use the keypad to throw, which can be nice if you're moving Tron in a different direction. Kind of like a twin-stick shooter. The 5, or the center button, is used for blocking, and the side buttons are just not used at all. If you miss, you can recall the disc back to you by pressing any of the buttons. I feel like this control scheme might have worked better if the controller was held sideways like an NES controller. Instead, you hold it upright. That's weird. There's also a recognizer enemy that appears to repair the walls, which you can destroy if you're careful. Anyway, this is a pretty good version of Tron. Willow for the arcade. Play as Willow on a quest to rescue Elora Danon from the evil witch Bavmorda. You start off by throwing acorns, I think, at the enemies to neutralize them. Later, you play as Mad Mardigan, who attacks with a sword instead. Now that makes much more sense than throwing acorns. Sometimes you come across chests that have potions or skills inside, and sometimes you'll even find a merchant selling stuff along the way. Only thing is, I can't afford squat. This guy's prices are ridiculous. The background visuals are gorgeous. So much detail. The stages are decent enough, but this wagon stage is a nightmare. I probably died 20 times because the enemies are too far away to hit. Then I couldn't beat this guy. I don't know, I think I need stronger acorns. Give it a shot if you ever see it in the arcade. You might enjoy the first couple stages like I did. Willow for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Here's one of the very few RPG games, action RPG games if you prefer, that I actually liked. If it wasn't tied to the George Lucas produced movie starring Warwick Davis, I might not have been as into it. First of all, look at how gorgeous this game is. The detail is nothing short of mind-blowing. The gameplay is fun too, and I enjoy slicing enemies with my swords and acquiring new armor and power-ups. I remember beating it a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Wait, no, never mind. I didn't say that. This is my favorite action RPG game of all time. Okay, well, that's gonna do it. Some pretty cool movie-based games that I enjoy. What movie-based games do you enjoy? Please let me know down in the comments. Thank you to my members. I really appreciate you supporting the channel. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.